Good morning, peoples. This is Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation. So I've decided, and I mentioned in my last YieldMax estimate, that I'm going to ease back into three, maybe four YieldMaxes that I even consider worthwhile. So PLTY is on the top of my list. Misty has always been up there. Coney's a good one because it rides with BTC. Not quite as well as MSTR, but I think Coney is undervalued. And I think if we get the run up into the 100, 125, 150 in BTC, that Coney will do very, very well. And then I'm going to start doing some GDXY because you guys know I'm reporting on the miners. And again, they're the most unloved sector because I get 200, maybe 300 views on a video. I do something on YieldMax and I get 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So I'm going to continue to do a few. Again, if I own them, I understand them, and I don't mind doing the detail. So having said that, I'm going to do one more reminder, guys. So all you have to do is look at a chart. Here's and the reason I say this is I understand income. I even own some PLTY, but I also own more PLTR. Why? Because when you have a super bullish stock, and again, I think this is the best software company on the planet, bar none, software company, okay? And I think its growth will reflect that. I know people come out and say it has a PE in excess of 400, yada, yada, yada. But you know what? It's had a massive PE, and look at this. Look at this growth. I've been singing its praises for a long time. Now I'm hearing yo-yos out there going, oh, Palantir is becoming the GOAT in YieldMax. Duh. All you have to do is pick a stock that's going to run, and hopefully the um, fund manager doesn't screw it up, right? And so far they haven't, but so here's Palantir, but I do want you to see. Now, there's some news out. I'm going to get into that and the earnings and all that in just a second. But let's go here for a second. So you see that it went up here and above the 120, around 123, and then sold off, sort of an ABC. Could be the first leg down. This could be a B, and we could get a C over here, and then it really takes off. So hard to know those things, guys. But anyway, it's looking like it wants to break out, but this is looking like a double top. It reported fantastic earnings. But like NVIDIA, like a lot of stocks, when they've just run and run and run, what happens is they're priced to perfection. So they beat earnings substantially. Their revenue year over year is up 36%. The one negative was, hey, Europe is slowing down. It's like 9% less sales, 11% less sales. Well, it's only 30 something percent all of Europe. And a lot of the tariffs have to do with that. I'm not going to tell you they don't. But the point being, they're out of just being a, where the government buys their software. For the first 2 or 3 or 4 years, that was true. But they have more revenue non-government than they do government, although I think the government's going to continue to be massive for them because military, regardless, we're going to shrink the government, but we're not going to shrink the military because of China, because of all the Cold War, of all the conflicts. He who walks softly but carries a big stick. The idea is, you want such weaponry and such sophistication and such a strong armed forces that nobody wants to come mess with you, instead of just deploying and using it and wasting a whole lot of money in wars. But, and that's what China's been doing, is building up like crazy their armed forces. And in some areas they're ahead. But thank God we're still ahead in a lot of ways. And hopefully it doesn't ever come to the next war. But I got to tell you, the cycles are showing it. So what I wanted to get at is Palantir is fine. Now, what did it do in pre-market? Already it's down to 114. But when I get into Palantir, I'm going to show you how that's to our advantage. So it went down, I think, as low as 110, 111. It's bounced to 114. I suspect we'll be in a 110 to 125 range at the end of this week and probably through next week. Now, the markets may pull back, but I don't think, I sort of see the bottom for Palantir at about 100 in the next couple weeks. And that's going to play in relative to what I'm about to show you with what the calls sold. They don't really have any spreads. They sold some naked calls, and they also put on synthetics, which are always, buy a call, sell a put. But let's take a look just so, because I talk about this sometimes and I don't have you, and I'm not showing you. And I don't know if you guys are, pulling it up and doing it. Look at this. This is PLTY, right? So if we did an exact same time frame and we showed Palantir, there's a method to my madness. Just hang on here, guys. So when I talk about outperforming, I'm talking about massively outperforming, right? So you see this peak here. This is why it was running. It dipped when this dipped. It went up, but it goes up about a third, right? We're talking about if you got in here, you were at 50%. Or even here at this point, you were like 60%. So let's take that away from 360. That says we're up 300% since PLTY started. Well, if you are up, I get that you have income and you have great income in PLTY. So that's one of the only reasons I bought it, because after having, looking and watching the majority of the stocks go down, that's a good way to lose your money. Guys brag about, Ulti. There's still lovers out there of Ulti, okay? But you look at Ulti, it gets a little tiring. So you can see that it's okay to get $5 or $6, but if you don't need the income every month, this is really what you want to own, right? This is what you want to sell calls and puts and do other things. I know not all of you can do that, right? So anyway, that's where I was going. That's what I wanted to say on that there's just no comparison. And I used to do the stats. Oh, today PLTY was up, 0.89%, and PLTR, Palantir, was only up 0.08 or something. So, we beat it. But guys, there's no beating it with any consistency, because when it moves up 15% and we move up 5, that's just clearly an outperformance. Now, this may be the period, if it's going to, recede a little bit, that you're going to get some money's worth out of it. But again, if you go down too fast, these income funds don't make money. It's the volatility. They got to go down and go back up, and they got to do it quickly. All right, guys. So I don't know where my stuff went. There we go. All right. So on PLTY, I'm building back to all of the files and everything. I still have my Misty and Coney, and I'm going to get those out by tomorrow. But I wanted to start with PLTY, and I got to build out more. But I put in enough here that I can tell the story pretty readily for you guys. Okay, so on PLTY, the weekly calls sold, right? Whoops. Let me get back up here. I want to start up. This is all the cash, the treasuries. I mean, I want to say who cares? But hey, it's earning 4 or 5% money. It's contributing. It's a great place to park your money, because when you're doing options, you only need a portion of your money. Okay. So here's the net assets. This changes each day based on the stock price, right? So today we came in Monday, closed Monday 5-5 at 123.77, hence the 114, some of those numbers. Let me look right now as we're talking. Yeah, I'm looking at 113.50 by 113.66, and it is 8:15 a.m. Eastern. So we're an hour and 15 minutes from the market opening. So that's got you right up to speed. Because I'm going to do some supposition at the end and tell you how much you're going to get paid on 521 when PLTY reports. And I think within some accuracy, that's why I'm going to give you a range and define the range and how I calculate the range. So synthetics are all lumped, okay, at 24,857 calls at a strike price of $100. Okay, so if you understand anything about options, when you bought calls at $1 and the stock was trading at 123, you know, the value of it, because it's still got 14 days till the 16th, right? Well, actually, is it 14? No. Today is the 6th. So you're only 12 days away, right? 4 trading days and 5 trading days next week. So you want it to stay over 100. Same thing here. This goes, if you end on 16 and it's 100 even, this is 0. Well, if it was 100, you probably have to buy it back for 20 cents. But if it's if it's 101 or something, then you can close it out for a penny or 2 pennies. Okay. So right now, this was obviously yesterday's 123.77. We've got a value of 59 million. So think about that. On the synthetics, we're going to win 59 million. Here's your share count. So that's going to come into play. And then I'm going to show you what I think the stock's going to do and the sold calls and give you the ranges that I think we're going to get on the payout, rather than take you through and tell you, oh, we're this much in the treasury and this much in and this T-bill and this bond note. Who cares? All you want to know is you're earning interest there. Okay. So here's the 59 million divided by the share count. That's going to contribute to us if we finish the month, okay, anything above 120 will have this kind of value. So $13. Now, what else did we do? We sold naked calls. We didn't really do spreads here. And look at the values. We sold one at 125, which was close. That was 0.98. Now, these are weekly. So we're going to have another week of calls to sell next week that we can win potentially more money, but I'm not even calculating those. Okay. So right now, they're still worth 845, but I guarantee when the market opens, they're going to drop down to about $4 or $5 because we're sitting down at 111. They may go to $4, so we just made 4 million here. But this is going to take a hit, right? It's not going to go anywhere negative. It's just going to take a hit. Maybe this goes to $15, right? And this goes to $3, something like that. But you still are looking at 48. You might lose $11 here and you may gain $5, 11 million here and gain 5 million here. But I want to walk you through what's going to happen. Okay. So right now, this is a liability, right? Because we sold them and we don't know the outcome. But it's pretty fair bet that I'm bearish on the Nasdaq and the S&P and sort of that stuff over the next 2 weeks. Slightly bearish, not massively bearish. So I don't see them outperforming. Possibly BTC does. I think gold possibly could. We'll see. And if it's a bigger decline, we'll have to see. So with 125, we're now got a lot of room. So it took a little bit of money out of here. So let me walk you through how I did all my calculations. So Friday was 124.28. Yesterday we closed at 123.40, down 0.41, almost nothing. And then earnings hit, and everybody's decided, they're saying fantastic earnings, but when you're priced this rich and you've gone up this much, what if Europe gets worse? What if the whole tariff thing comes and blah, blah, blah? And so people are selling it. Fear, right? I'm as bullish as I've ever been on the company. Does that not mean that if the market got really ugly and the Dow and the Nasdaq and the S&P all went down 25%, that it didn't pull PLTR from this 111 it's at right now and the 124 it was at to $80? Of course, right? Anything can happen. But if stocks have a chance, any software stock, I like Palantir the best. Okay, so here's I think 100 by 516 is unlikely. Possible? Maybe, but unlikely. 110 is possible. We're trading at okay, we're up to, guys, 113. 35, 113.28 by 113.35. So see, we're bouncing in that number. We may get a push down at the open, and maybe it goes down to 110, and by the end of the day, we're back at 115, 118. Part of it will be, now right now, we're showing down 45 points on the S&P 500. So I've got a value of 56.27, down 44.78%. So we'll see. Other stocks probably aren't down as much. This is more just specific earnings fear related. Not their earnings were fantastic and their projection is fantastic. So the company's as bullish as ever. So here's what I did on these. So I said, okay, let's say it does go to 110. Well, we're going to get $10 in profit, right? So we can sell that call for $10 and basically buy the put back for a couple pennies. So not a problem there. We get $10. Well, when you do the math on that, what is that? I did it here for you. So we make $5.43. Okay. I had us making 13.08 here. So we only make 543. But guess what? If we go back to 110, we make every penny of this. So add another 13,964, which is what I did. And I said, this is the win here. All of these 110 prices to 125 all give us 305 worth of these sold calls that we just keep the premium. And here's the range for the synthetic, $5.43 if we end at 110, okay, which is this value. Then we get 1392 if we go to 120. And if we go to 125, which would still allow us to win all of it by 16th, well, actually, then, and guys, we have a whole nother week to write more calls, but I'm not even speculating on that. I will after they're written the end of this week and they close these out. But I've got us safe to say that I would call this middle one and say we probably are going to make 1392. We're probably going to be at that 120 number. I just used 110, 120, and 125. I said, hey, if we go to 100, we don't make anything, right? We make all of this. We make this 14 million, 13,964, but we don't make it. And then next week we can make another 13 and get 26 million, and that's like $5. But the point is, look at these values. So I just created this because I said, well, what does that mean? If we earn 849, are they going to pay out 849? Absolutely not. I think our biggest payout's been 590. So I use 65%. So right now, I've got us paying 552 if we end this week at 110 and we stay at that. Well, we don't have to end this week at 110. We end the week of 516 at 110. Okay. Here we are. We're in Group B. Declaration date is 5/21, right? So from tomorrow, that's 2 weeks. So it's 2 more weeks out, the declaration, right? We'll have a declaration tomorrow in what, Group A? Yeah, the Tesla group. So Group B comes at, well, then maybe it's somebody else, but we just had D. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at it. What But this, I did look it up, and it's 5/21, the declaration date for this. Okay, so we have to close out this 100 synthetic. That's why I'm doing all this math for you down here, because now they can roll it, but they're still going to close it out. Maybe they roll this week, at the end of this week, but they'll still do very well. Even at, 114, 115, some number like that, they're going to make a lot of money. They're going to make 30 mil or something up here, and that's going to contribute, like $7 just in the synthetic between these ranges. If it's, 115 is between the 110 and the 120. So call it like 750, 760. So anyway, guys, I can almost say with certain, and nothing is certain with the stock market, that we'll have a high five, likely a six. I'm using 65%. And if we get to 120 and close out on 16 or roll, we could have an $8 payout in PLTY. So this is kind of the range, guys. And again, I could be a little high. They could just save it even though they earn this 905, and it would be a real 905 earnings, plus maybe another dollar to it selling more calls in the following week. Okay? Naked calls, let alone any synthetic gain or loss. They'd have to put on a new synthetic. They can roll 1 week early in the synthetic. I don't think they'll do, the earliest they would do anything with that synthetic would be 5/9, the end of this week on Friday. So I just wanted to say PLTY is sitting very, very nice. So I'm going to have a few more tabs like I did on some of the others, and I'm going to get you Misty and Coney and keep you up to date. I may do PLTY every couple of days because to me, not a lot changes, although this earnings will be very impactful. Where are we right now, people, before I sign off? We are at trading 113.40 by 113.46. All right, peoples, this is Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation. That's my information on the YieldMax PLTY income fund. Again, this is not financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. Have a great day and rest of your week, people. Bye for now.